Good afternoon, Scarlet T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it's Monday, market was up a little bit. We started up, faded a little bit, then regrouped. Pretty much the same story. Lots of different pockets of strength, lots of stock selection, lots of basically making sure you have the right price, because a few times during the day, if you added to a short, you lost. If you added to a long, it took some time. But all in all, just another day down in the stock market. Not day down, but another day behind us. Okay, because a down day in the stock market, and those two words together, sometimes they haven't happened a lot in 2013. So anyway, look at the chart of the SPX. We will see here that you take a closer look. We've talked about this new trend that developed from the low here, right? The red dog reversal right there into the trend line, and then how it, broke and closed above this descending channel, and then it held above it, then broke through prior highs, and then the question is, what was next? So here you go. As of now, you have a pivot from Friday. The low here was 1752, pulled in from 1775, a whole 23 handles. So this is your upper channel, and within that channel, I guess we'll figure out if that was it. And if that was it, chances are, this melt up that we've seen since this pivot low, is in place. And, people talk about when do you put on core trades. On the reversal, you don't necessarily put on a core trade. You put on some feelers, you put on things you like. Maybe on this wide range engulfing bar is when you start putting on some core trades, or as it goes sideways, holding above. So maybe on this day. So all in all, in this spot is when you try and put on, as much size. And then into this, you trade around it and you figure out what's next. But anyway, with that being said, as far as some pockets of strength, last Friday, First Solar, or Thursday night, First Solar came out with earnings, and it was good, and it gapped up, and it continued. So the Solars were a place to be today. You look at First Solar, look at this nice gap. There you go, from earnings, and then you had continuation. So there you go, follow through in First Solar, in a solar name. This group has been in play pretty much the entire year. So with that being said, a lot of people in the VTF start looking at SolarCity, and RD's been all over. A lot of people have been all over it. And why wouldn't they try and squeeze that one up, a little bit, considering that this is one of, the premier SolarCity or solar stocks with Musk behind it. So here is a big move. It did come off the highs, not ready to break above this area before earnings, which are Wednesday. But all in all, if you bought this dip on the 21-day, okay, and so the doji, you got paid, thereafter. Now let's see if we digest a day and figure out what's next. With that also, people got a little worried about Tesla. Tesla, we've talked about so many times throughout the course of this year, right? Following the trend that broke pretty much right around here. Okay, yes, I think we drew it a little tighter, but anyway, here is advertisement number one to maybe get out of the way a little bit, advertisement number two, and then here is when it started to reverse. Okay, we talked about this pivot right here. I remember that day, remember? Okay, that was 162. Remember, I think I shorted it below 162, covered below 160 in the 158s, and cried when it hit here, but all of a sudden, boom, that was a red dog reversal that it looked like it needed a retest, and it did, and then lo and behold, today happened. So we'll see what happens. Some people placed themselves into a call spread early on. I think in the morning call we talked about maybe buying the 170s and selling the 190s or something like that. I did not do it. I had a lot going on today, and I unfortunately missed it. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Something we didn't miss, though, was Apple. Apple is looking better here. I'm hoping that they didn't really have their iPad numbers come out. AT&T talked about 200% increase in whatever activations. And we've played this stock many ways, and last quarter it got better right after earnings right there. Then you had this little failure here on that event day, the retest, and then the last time we had a nice little call spread was right around here, and then it took out the prior highs, and then earnings, it needed some time to pretty much just absorb what's been a really big move. So with that being said, today looked as if it woke up a little bit, okay? And with that being said, I think I tweeted about it. I tweeted it I think it was 522, 523, saying first time putting on some calls again. Last time I had a call spread on was right here, and I'm also long some stock. If it were to start breaking above this 527 and change, then your next spot's right there. So with that being said, if you are up, listen, here's the thing. Lots of guys trade with all different time frames. Some are scared to be overnight. Some can handle holding a stock for multiple days. If you think tomorrow this thing's going to be triggering through 527.5 and you're worried out of your skin that you might not have some if it happens, take a little bit. Okay, take a little bit, just get yourself used to taking on some risk. But then again, if you take it and all of a sudden the iPad numbers are not great, or they release their own set and it's opening down $3-4, that's the risk you're going to take. You got to figure out if you can take it. For me, I tend to not sometimes have as much as I have overnight. So what I have now is I like the trade. I have the options, just in case that it goes, and I took some home long just in case it gaps up above that number. But the best trade would be is if it opened up, flat, down $1, and then traded through, if you go back to the chart, this area, so you could sink your teeth into it, intraday when you can control your risk. But at this point, having some makes a little sense. It's still above the 8-day, above the 21-day, absorbing this, so it looks okay. You look at Google, it's resting, still looks okay. I've been in a call spread for a while that actually expires, so the last third of it expires Friday, so I guess I'm a little risky here because I am short the 1040s and I sold the 1020s that I had. But if I can catch it, I'd like to trade it anyway. I'll just buy more of the stock if it trades through 1040, and that will cover my option. If it happens to go again, and we'll make more money that way anyway. If it could, open here and go through it. If for some reason it gaps up above it, that's part of the problem of having naked calls. But we'll see what happens. Elsewhere, some of the banks. I guess you could say Goldman is looking better, like it's trying to get above this area. We'll see what happens. The 3D stocks continue to go very well. Triple D, what a move. We've talked about this so many times during the course of the year, and it's choppy at times, it extends at times. I know we've had it off the charts so many different times. Recently, it reversed on earnings and closed near the highs of the day. SSYS also, made new highs Friday. It still looks pretty good. Let it hold above here, and it can continue. A lot of guys were looking at XONE as a lower level trade. Look at this. We talk about day one, right? Here you could say is considered a day one. You have this mid-level channel. If you sold well here when it broke this uptrend or broke this area, you could have gotten thinking about, okay, getting back here on this wide range bar or after a nice base. And today is a day one. A lot of guys, I think, in the VTF took it today. And now let's see if it could continue up to perhaps this moving average for a trade. So again, you sold it correctly here when it broke a trend. You have the luxury of buying it back, or if you're just an active trade and you're looking for a day and a half type of scenario, here you go. VJet gave you a few different opportunities. You look at it here. Nice new issue. If this follows the old, XONE's path, this is a spot that you want to be long some for a swing to potentially get back to the highs. But again, remember, these are unproven IPOs. So with risk, there's reward. If you're taking this long, thinking it's going to get back up to there, you have to realize it's a little risky, but this is a wedge pattern. It's consolidated. Start to get on the move. It is the right trade, but just don't do it with any kind of size, because it is unproven. Talking about unproven, we'll get into Twitter in a second, but Facebook, people like, what do we do here? This point, we talked about in the morning call it needing time above here. This was when it came in, I think after a really nice run. Remember last quarter's earnings was a little easier to be held up, right? We talked about the cup and handle pattern where it gave you a measured move to around 54 actually. That was a different one, but anyway. So here you had your big earnings gap, was pent up, and then it turned into a really nice trade. And since then, it's up quite a bit. So with that being said, lots of different trades along the way. This was one of them. And then again, when it popped above this area, and then when it popped above this area, and now it's getting a little wishy-washy. Today, it gave you a second. You could have perhaps gotten out below Friday's low. I know on Friday I tried shorting it, thinking they would pin it, and they did more than pin it. But anyway, with that being said, it's for the long side. I think you have to be skeptical. If you want to be shorted, you could try that too. The Twitter's coming out on Thursday. We'll see what happens. Maybe people are raising some liquidity, especially for those that were long from here or long from lower. There is also already some talk. Everyone's talking about this head and shoulders pattern. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This being your neckline. We shall see. So at this point, I have no position in Facebook, and I'll tactically approach it and see what goes on. What we know is tomorrow we'll figure out if 4802 today's low is some kind of pivot for action. And then just as far as Twitter, we're doing a big day around Thursday. About a few weeks ago, I was pretty excited. I'm like, okay, the Twitter IPO, pricing it between 16 and 17, probably a lot of room for us to make money using our art of the first day, which we've used so many different times in new issues to measure the supply and demand and figure out whether or not we can make money the first day. LinkedIn was a great deal. Opened up, I think, around 90, went to 92, came down to 88, consolidated, then hit 110 plus. Facebook, you know, they just were piggies about it. They kept bringing the IPO price up, then they gave the overshares, and then they botched the timing, and it turned into a disaster that led to a good opportunity 6 months after or longer, you know, after the whole botched IPO. So the question is, what's Twitter going to do? And at this point, they just raised a new issue from 17 to 20 to 23 to 25. I heard another little news release that they might even make it higher than that. The higher that it goes, the harder it's going to be sustained, and the harder it is going to be for us to get a meaty trade. So let's see what happens. You know, they have strike one against them, raising it. Hopefully they keep it here. Hopefully they don't allot more shares because the demand's so high. They'd be much better off doing a tight LinkedIn type deal where they price it here, make these guys who want it pay for it in the aftermarket the same way you and I have to do it, or people not involved in the deal, because the company's already getting their money, not give them free money by placing them in between, and then, you know, figure out thereafter for a few sessions if you can make money, and then let it base, let it build a pattern, and that's when you'll figure out whether or not we could hold it for a sustainable long term. But for right now, you know, we don't know what's going to happen from day to day, so I would say today, small strike against it, turns it from an A+ setup to an A setup, and we'll figure out each day how it boils down. But ultimately, that day of the IPO, we're going to figure out whether or not it's tradable, whether there's enough demand to absorb all the flippers, the people in the deal, all the free lunches, because, you know, we work hard out there. We don't get free lunches. We have to actually figure it out with a plan, and we'll see how that goes. But ultimately, if you're new, you're on the VTF today. A lot of people subscribed. Congratulations. You saw, you know, our video over the weekend. You saw maybe our email, and hopefully you saw the value added from the site, you know, with the chat room that we have online with 350 people plus talking about what they're seeing, to the commentators where you can see our positions come off and on. It's so much more than just a Twitter IPO. It's about a community that will help you navigate and answer some questions and be just a, you know, a friend. And the beauty of the VTF is, you know, you can have a friend around the world in every trading firm that wants to be a member. So if you did join, hopefully you got some value added. And if you join tomorrow, you know, see what it's like, and let's build into the Twitter day and then figure out together whether or not there's opportunity from us, you know, or for us the first day, or if it's in a void, which we pretty much figured out when Facebook couldn't find a friend and closed on the IPO price, and then was a disaster for the days after. Hopefully this won't follow the same road. Strike one, hopefully they don't get a strike two. See you tomorrow morning at the morning call with Brittany. Have a good night.